Hello to the approximately 2.5 people that have any interest in what I've been working on here, which is uh, a rolling my own virtual instrument that I will have designed and owned and built and all that so that I can hopefully get away from the rat race of keeping up with third-party plugins and all the fun of trying to keep up with the Joneses in terms of having an up-to-date studio rig and all that kind of thing. It seems a lot more enjoyable to just make my own stuff and make stuff with my own stuff. So I'll show you a little bit about what I've started with here. And any of you who know me and want a version of this, I'm happy to render this out for you. This is, I think most of you who will be listening in are more of the select a patch and play it kind of folks. This is definitely, you can save patches, but I don't have a whole lot created yet. This is meant to be more of a sound design, patch design tool, instrument design tool. I really started by kind of asking the question, well, first of all, you all know that I have kind of been a big fan of some of the physical modeling stuff that I've run into recently, especially since it feels so much more playable than some of the sample-based stuff. And this whole instrument here is all of 4.5 megabytes, and what it can do is quite a bit compared to some of those sample libraries that are gigs upon gigs to get anything remotely decent sounding. So all that to say, what this instrument here is a, I guess I would say, I should probably tell a little bit about how I even decided to create this instrument creation suite or instrument creation tool. I sort of started by asking the question, what makes a piano sound nice and unlike a synthesizer? Not that synthesizers don't sound nice, but what is it that goes into, what are the differences that make something like a piano sound so much realer and richer? And could I build a virtual instrument that isn't necessarily meant for me to build an exact replica of a piano virtually, but lets me tweak some of those similar elements in hopes of getting something virtual that may not sound exactly like a piano, but might sound as or close to as acoustically pleasing by using as many of the parameters that a real piano might incorporate. And so I started working on this, and what it really is, I guess I would say, is it's an additive synthesis engine. And so it lets you control timbre of things per harmonic. So you know that most sounds, most musical sounds are constructed of different pitches, different sine waves together in their harmonic series, or at least closely approximating the harmonic series. And many of the synthesizer waves that we use, oscillators that we use commonly in synthesizers, have those same harmonics as part of them oftentimes. A sine wave, a sawtooth wave, a triangle wave, square waves all have harmonically related sine waves built into them. And so that's kind of what gives those oscillator types a musical sound, but also a synthetic sound, because they're so exactly, perfectly harmonically related mathematically. This tool lets me control the harmonics on a per harmonic basis. So I have 16 possible slots here that will let me play. First, I have just a single sine wave going, but I can right here enter in, if I want another sine wave at double the frequency, I can get that sort of a sound. And many sounds will have all of the harmonics in them at some level. So I can start to add additional harmonics here. And they don't have to be integer multiples of the fundamental frequency, which is what I usually set this one to. But they can be. And so a lot of times if I wanted to get something that sounded kind of like a sawtooth wave, I would just have each of the harmonics here. Up to 16 we'll start with. That's how many slots I have. It starts to get quite expensive in terms of CPU if I go much more than that. And now I can start increasing the volume of some of these other partials. Right, you can hear as they so it still sounds pretty synthetic, but it starts to sound a little closer to like a sawtooth wave. Then, something that a sawtooth wave can't do, or most synthesizers that are oscillator waveform based can't do, is we can control the down here. There's a lot of aspects you can control, but we can actually tell each partial to decay at a different rate. So let's do this and make each successive harmonic fade out a little bit quicker than the previous one. And then you can get stuff like this. So you can hear that it's actually becoming duller as it fades out, which that's something that acoustic instruments like a piano will do. Already you can tell it's a little more musical than in some ways than just a simple oscillator might be. So we can start constructing our timbre that way. Something else we can do is, right here I've got what I call low velocity darkening. That lets us, and we can give it a bright velocity curve. That lets us set a situation where the harder we play, the more of these harmonics start to be noticeable, and the quieter we play, the more it emphasizes these lower ones. So if I, where was that? There's a lot of sliders. So if I set this around here, you can tell it's quite dark. But as I play louder, right? And I can take that quite far if I want. You're hearing some clicking because we don't have much in the way of attack. We have a very fast attack going on, so I'm just going to make that a little bit longer of an attack. So that's a little bit less clicky. But now you can already hear we're getting kind of a Rhodesy-ish sort of a sound happening. So the next thing that's pretty interesting is we can also tune each individual harmonic separately. And one easier way to do that is to add some inharmonicity. So this slider right here lets us make it so that the upper harmonics are out of tune with the lower harmonics. by stretching each successive harmonic a little bit higher. So if I play a note and I start turning this slider, you'll start hearing those upper harmonics become sharp in relation to the lower harmonics. And if we just do it a little bit, it starts to sound a little bit more acoustic, especially if we add this key tracking version lets us make it so that the higher the note we play, the more inharmonic it becomes. So we've got, compared to this, if we add a little bit of inharmonicity, see, it starts to almost sound bell-like a little bit. And a piano or a Rhodes might be somewhere in this really low, like maybe 1. I think I usually set things to around 1 and maybe about 5. But it just starts to have a little bit of, you can even hear a little bit of interaction happening now between the partials as they fade. Then, another thing that a piano will have is multiple strings, right, that are slightly out of tune with each other. So we can say, let's have two voices instead of just one. So now we have 2 instances of the note playing, and I can tell that I can also say, hey, let's give a little bit of random detuning to each of the frequencies that are present, so that we get a little bit of interaction between the 2 voices where they're a little bit different from each other. And then we can even detune each voice from each other a little bit. Well, now we're starting to distort. Let me turn the volume down a little bit. Here we're starting to get a little bit more. You can almost start to hear a piano coming out of that. And now we can add a little bit of a stereo if we want. We can make it pan left to right as we play across the keyboard. So you get kind of the idea. I'll open up a couple example patches so you can see a little bit of what I've built with this so far. But some other things that this can do, we can just kind of control the brightness here a little bit. If we want to just err on the side of brighter, we can, or err on the side of duller, we can. Some of these sliders let us do things like, as we go higher, we can have the notes get brighter, or oftentimes we might want it to be duller. Sometimes when you start getting up higher, you start to get these really tinny notes, and so you can do this to smooth out that a little bit. We have a lot of different things you can control. You can say, hey, I want the harmonics to be more on the low side on the low side of the keyboard, and higher on the other side, or I can flip it over here, and that'll make it so that it kind of inverses, and the higher partials are more common on the on the low notes. I think that's how it works. So just kind of changes where the harmonics land, or how much they're emphasized in what part of the range of the instrument. We can even do things like give some randomize the volumes of the balances of the harmonics each time we play a note. So if I do a lot of it, you can kind of you can tell that there's a slightly different timbre each time. That almost gives us like a round robin effect just on its own by slightly randomizing the levels of the different harmonics as we play. So if I, well, of course now I'm distorting because I'm cranking up the volumes of some of the harmonics, but you're getting getting more variability there. You have to be careful with but now each note sounds slightly different from the previous. Not much, but just enough that it sounds a little bit less like a sampled, repeated sample, or less like a repeated oscillator that you might normally hear. So anyway, what else can we do here? We can choose to have certain harmonics be boosted. So I can choose a part of the range to be accented. We can, have a resonator here. We can add a rotary speaker. That's good for like organ-y type sounds. Monophonic versus polyphonic switch. You guys kind of know what that does. Here's where all the things we can set with the different harmonics. So we've got what the harmonic relationship is, how loud they are. We can set those each to be controller based if we want. So something that's kind of cool to do is you can actually set, like if I wanted controller 11, the expression pedal, to control all of these volumes, we could do that. And then I could even click this box here and say, well, I want that to go in the opposite direction. So you could get a situation where as you put the pedal one way, it's the odd numbers of the harmonics that are audible. And as you flip the pedal the other way, you get the other harmonics audible. That's a pretty cool effect. We can run each harmonic through a noise shaper if we want, a wave shaper. Most of the time you're just probably going to run them direct, but we can add a little bit of distortion with different types of distortion for each partial. That can be really useful for like loud notes on a Rhodes type of a piano that kind of gets a grind, sort of, I can't remember what they call that, like a bark, right? On the low loud notes. This determines how much aftertouch is going to affect the level. We can randomize how loud each levels are on a case-by-case basis. Here's our good old attack times. We can make the attacks be delayed if we want. We can randomize how long it takes for a partial to come in. Here's where we set the RTK times for each partial. So there's a lot of stuff you can do. You can make the release level higher so that, or I'm sorry, what is kind of cool to do is have the release times. We've lost quite a bit of our sound here. I don't remember what I did. I think I set a boost somewhere. Well, anyway, somewhere in there, I'm just going to go to another patch, or I can reset my patch. So let's see, where were we here? Yeah, release times. So something that's nice is to have the ability to have different partials release at different rates. So we can do something like this. You can hear that those lower partials ring as we release. You can also have this release levels slider. Lets you set a bump in the volume when you release the note. So if you want to ensure that there's a little bit of a noise that happens, so I could, for example, have the second harmonic get a boost if it's fallen below a certain level. I'll do it a lot. You hear that little bump? So you can set different characteristics. You can have different partials be accented more when the note's released, which is pretty cool. I'll show you some of the patches that I've done that use that. We can actually pan individual harmonics. So if I wanted to have all the even harmonics left and the odd harmonics right, we could do that. That's something that you couldn't easily do with just filters and doing kind of a multi-band filter where you pass low frequencies out one side and high frequencies out the other. This is actually based on the harmonic number, so you can get really precise on how your panning is, which is kind of an interesting effect. This note track determines whether or not each harmonic tracks with the pitch. If I turn these off, they'll just be the same per note, the same note, the same pitch, regardless of what I play. Or you can split the difference and have it get a little bit louder as it goes. We have some FM and AM stuff that we can put in place if we want, for things like just LFOs, but also if you really want to get into doing some mild FM AM synthesis, you can kind of do that here. There's stuff like, some things that relate to that would be being able to have a little bit of just random drift of the frequencies. That can be a pretty cool thing, where the frequencies of the partials themselves kind of drift in and out of tune. You can do the same thing with the volume of the partials can kind of drift in it, louder and quieter. Sorry, we've got students leaving. We do have the ability to set round robin groups if you want to be like, let's say you wanted some of the partials to play every other note. You could say, like, I want these partials to be in group 1, and then these to be in group 2, and then these to be in group 3, and then you have 3 groups going. We've got a situation.
I'm excited.
We've got a situation where it's just playing only certain partials each time you play a note, and then the next time it's selecting a different group, and the next time it's selecting a different group until it resets. We have it random right now, but if we do it in sequence, anyway, you can see how that could be potentially useful. There's a couple noise partials as well, so we can just add noise if we want. That's good for just like click sounds when something is attacking, or little clicks on release, or even we can even do kind of a filtered noise kind of a deal by cranking the filter here down to a. You can hear that it's kind of related to those are so distracting, I'm sorry. You can kind of hear what's going on there with the noise. Now that's pretty much what we have happening. Let me play you a couple examples. So here's like a kind of an electric guitar sort of a sound. And one thing that I think is kind of nice, we can control almost anything with controllers if we want. So I assigned 11 to control the volume. But I also have, right here, I think I have this set here with the pitch bending. You can have there's an individual bend range feature, which lets you choose a controller to bend only the last note you play. So you can get these good old country endings, right? What else do we have? Here's kind of a nice. I like this this like bouncy bass type of a sound we get by using this starting pitch, I think it is. We can actually swoop into the pitch. Where was that? I don't remember where that is, and I have so many sliders here. Maybe it's way down here. Oh yeah, here we go. You can see that we have a starting pitch multiplier, so we can say I want the note to start high and settle in. Here, doing it there. And if we make that subtle, it almost becomes like a kick drum. Gives it a little bit more of a nice attack. So I'll leave you with that. Oh, I should probably play you the example. I kind of matched a drawbar organ pretty well here, where we've got the ability to control drawbars with the. Oh, why am I not? Why am I not? Why is it not playing for me? Oh, it is. I have a pedal controlling the rotary speaker. I have a switch that I can turn the perk on or off. Yay. I'll make some patches, and if you guys want to play around with this, let me know. I'll send you a version of it. You can make whatever you like.